What's going on, everybody? Branson over at Tailwater Outfitters, and today we are talking about everything kingfishing. That's baits, reels, rods, equipment, techniques, location, and stay tuned to the end. We are going to go over some bonus secret things that you can do to catch those big kingfish. So let's start with everyone's favorite, rods and reels. We are going to go over the options that you can use for kingfishing. First option is going to be your conventional side when it comes to the rods and reels. And conventional typically is going to be in the kingfishing side, is going to be a star drag. Right here we have two awesome options for your conventional reels. We're going to have a Saltist 40 as well as a Accurate Turn 2 600. So why would you want to use a conventional star drag reel for kingfishing? Well, the first thing that comes up is the fact that it is a star drag and it is a super finite drag system, so you can really fine tune this reel for that kingfish. Now you're probably thinking, why do I need to do that? The reason why you need to do that is because when a kingfish bites in that initial run, it is super fast, abrupt, and it just keeps moving. So you need to have your drag system set perfectly, because if you don't, they're just going to pop off every single time and you're going to lose them. The other reason why a star drag in the conventional side is nice is because you are not going to be able to hit the star drag by accident as easy as a lever drag. A lever drag is going to be on the top of the reel and you can accidentally nick it and hit it. And if you do that, well, you might apply too much pressure or too little pressure and you're going to lose that fish. So that's why a lot of guys, a lot of hard, heavy duty tournament guys when it comes to kingfish are going to be using conventionals because it is easier to use. Next to the rod, the conventional rod. The nice thing about a lot of companies now is they actually make kingfish rods for kingfishing. And you're probably going to say, what does that mean? So these right here are two options. This is a Star handcrafted Kingfish series and a Daiwa Darkwater Kingfish. So they're both 7/6 heavy rods, but the nice thing about these is they have a little bit softer of a tip. So on that initial bite, that initial run, it's actually not going to be too sturdy or too stiff to where it's going to break off. It's going to have enough play in that tip to where you can easily fight it, as well as when they initially bite, it's not going to break off right away. And then going to the next option, which is going to be the spinning side of the rods and reels. So for spinning, we like to use an 8,000 size reel. I know that that's kind of a vague term across the board because some reel companies use different sizes, but that's okay. The options that I have here are pretty much the same size. So the first one is going to be a Saragossa 8K and the new Penn Authority 6500. The reason why we chose a 6500 is because Penn sizes are a little bit bigger, so they're very comparable. These reels are awesome. They have more than enough drag. They can hold up to those bigger reels. And the biggest thing is going to be the line capacity on the spinning reel. You need a reel that is going to have enough line capacity to hold up to these big fish, because when you get a big kingfish on, they're going to easily take a couple hundred yards of line like that. So you need to be able to have the capacity to hold up to them, as well as the turning and crank to bring them in. So the rods are going to be somewhat similar to the conventional side, but obviously a spinning rod. So the first one that we're going to go over is the Star handcrafted Kingfish rod in the spinning though. Again, this is going to have that backbone, but the tip to where you can still fight the fish and reel them in. The next one is going to be the Terramar XX and the 8-foot extra heavy. The reason why I like this one is because the extra heavy is going to give it, again, that backbone to bring it in, but it's also going to have that tip to where if you do get a bite on it, it's not going to break it off immediately. So the next piece of this kingfish puzzle, of course, is going to be your baits and rigging. What am I going to use? So we're going to go over the few options that you have for kingfish. First one is going to be the live bait option. There's a lot of really, really good options to use out there, whether that's whitebait, cigar minnows, sardines, mullet, ladyfish, blue runners. The world is your oyster. There's a lot of great options, and they all produce kingfish. Let's talk about how you rig it and what you're going to use for that. So the most universal way is going to be these right here. That is what we call a stinger rig. Stinger rig is going to be the perfect option for rigging these live baits because it's got a placement hook that you put on the nose and then the stinger, which is going to be the treble that goes in the back. so you can actually catch the fish, because that's what the kingfish is going to eat. A lot of guys, what they like to do is they like to add these, the smoker chokers. That is going to be a little bit of flash, a little bit of something to get those kingfish's attention, and it is going to help them find it. Another option with this is going to be a planer. So a planer is going to be essentially a weight that dives, that's going to bring those baits a little bit farther down, and you can actually use that for the artificials when we move into that next. Artificials are super fun to catch kingfish because they're easy. You control them all day long. You don't have to switch out baits, and it is it works really well. One of the best options for you is going to be a big old gator spoon. So these spoons are really easy to use. You can pair them up with the planers like I was talking about to bring them down a little bit deeper. But that is an awesome option because it is a big old piece of flash that those kingfish see and they go crazy for. Let's say you want to go down a little bit deeper. So the next bait is going to be this Nomad DTX minnow. This one is really nice. So this one goes down to 30 feet. It's got a big old lip. It's super strong. The nice thing about these is it has the BKK hooks. So they're going to hold up. They're not going to break when it comes to catching those big kingfish. And it's also too going to run true. It's going to run straight. It has an auto-tune lip to it. So it actually stays straight when you're trolling instead of running cockeyed or running off to the side. It's going to go the same way all day long. Next option is going to be the Crystal Minnow from Yozuri. This one's super nice. I like these because they also run very straight. The trebles are strong and they hold up. This one's gonna be about a 20-footer, and those are gonna be the two depths that I like to stay at, is that 20 to 30 foot, especially in the fall, because that's where those fish are mostly going to be. So the last option is going to be frozen or dead bait. This is an awesome option because it's easy. You don't have to catch it. You can go to your tackle shop and buy it in a box. First option I like to do is these cigar minnows because kingfish typically feed on cigar minnows. How I rig these is I'm going to take a big old bucktail like this Spro right here, and I am actually going to drop this about 30 to 40 feet down. So I like it to be about 20 to 30 feet off the bottom. So 65 feet is going to be about 30 feet roughly, and I'm just going to let it sit there. So if I have some live baits off the back, I'm going to have this one on the bottom. And the reason why I do that is typically those kingfish, the bigger kingfish, are going to be somewhat in the middle of the water column. So this is what I'm going to use, and I just let it sit there, and I've caught a lot of really big kingfish doing this, and it's simple and it's easy. The next option is going to be rigged ballyhoo. The nice thing about these is they are all ready to go. All you gotta do is throw this out the back of your boat and slow troll, and you're gonna catch some fish on this. It's another simple option to catch kingfish, and it really works. Okay, so you have your rods and reels, you have all the bait. The next step is, where do I go and how I do it? So typically in kingfishing, there's 3 scenarios on how you do it and where you go. Let's start with the first one. So the first one is going to be bait pods. I see bait pods, therefore there are kingfish, and that is pretty much accurate all the time. So typically what you're gonna do with that is you are going to, one, bring your live bait, your stinger rigs, and you're going to pitch them behind the boat where the bait pods are and wait for those kingfish to react. They're gonna come up, they're gonna see your bait, and they're gonna go crazy for it. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2 is I am going to troll for these kingfish. I know a water depth where they have been actively running lately, so I am going to pick 2 points and essentially troll that water depth. So what you're normally going to do with that is where you bring in your live bait and artificials. So you're going to, 1, slow troll live baits. That's super important, especially with the stinger rigs. Slow trolling, what does it mean? So slow trolling is going to be essentially a 1 to 2 mile an hour variation. The best way to gauge it is actually pretty simple. So if your bait is flipping up to the surface, you're going too fast. If you have way too much slack in your line, you are going too slow. So you have to essentially learn that perfect medium to know exactly what the slow troll is going to be for you in that given condition of that day. So now for the bonus tips and secrets that we talked about at the beginning of the video. So the first bonus is going to be how to set your drag. That's super important when it comes to kingfish. So you want to set your drag to where when you pull it off of the spool, there's just enough tension that you feel a little bit, but just enough play to where it somewhat easily comes off of the reel. This is something that you're going to have to learn, and it takes a lot of feel, but once you get it, you're going to be able to keep those fish on every single time. Next bonus is going to be a gaff. Gaffs are very important when it comes to kingfish because you can't lip them. So I like to have a long gaff and a short gaff because you never know what's going to happen, and having that distance to be able to bring in a big fish quickly is nice, but also if he's really big and you need another gaff, having that short one helps a lot too. The third bonus is going to be always bring a chum block on the boat. Reason for this is it's another way to bring those kingfish closer to you. Now, for the secret that we talked about. The secret to kingfish is there's always kingfish. People will tell you that fall, spring, that's the only time you can catch them. That is not true. You can catch kingfish year-round, just a little bit farther out from when they normally are in the fall and spring. Typically, I like to fish at least 65 to 70 feet for them year-round. They're always going to be there. You can find them. And you can go out even farther and find them some more. Let us know what you think. Comment, like, subscribe. Tell us what your kingfish secret is. Tell us how you catch them, how you don't catch them, how I don't catch them, whatever. Thanks for watching.